Perhaps you'll remember that time when Moses was on pilgrimage and he was walking down the road when he came upon a shepherd who was taking care of his flock of sheep in his pasture. And as he passed, Moses heard the shepherd with his eyes raised to heaven saying, "Oh God, thank you for sending the rain which grows the grass that feeds my sheep and makes their wool grow. If only I could make you a cloak out of their lush wool and use the straw, the hay, to make you a pair of straw sandals, to give my thanks for all that you provide." And Moses was absolutely affronted. So he went over to the shepherd and he said, "Oh, you stupid, blasphemous man, do you think that God is some kind of man that he needs a cloak and straw sandals?" The poor shepherd burst into tears, tears flowing down his cheeks as Moses walked away, thinking what a good job he'd done making this lowly shepherd aware of what he'd been doing. But that night, when Moses was lying down to sleep, there was great thunder in the sky, and God spoke to him, admonishing him roundly. How dare he speak and scold a great devotee who prayed to God in the way that he knew how? So Moses, of course, duly chastened, decided to go back and apologize to the shepherd and encourage him to pray to God in the way that he knew. But when he came back to the field where the shepherd was, he was about to apologize to him when suddenly he saw the beatific countenance, the look of bliss on the face of the shepherd, and Moses immediately recognized that this shepherd had come to that place where words were no longer needed. Then there's that story about the night watchman. In the daytime, he was a day laborer, but in the nighttime, he kept watch at the temple in which there was a great statue of Krishna that had a diamond embedded in its crown. So 24-hour watch was needed so that no thieves could come in. But to keep himself awake and to keep vigil, the night watchman sang devotional songs to his beloved Krishna, the bhajans. But one evening, the priest of that temple was passing by and heard this sound coming from within the temple. Now the night watchman's voice had no tone. He sang completely off-key. So the priest went in to the temple and he said, "Stop this minute, that caterwauling sound. Do you think that our Krishna can sleep with that sound going on in his ears?" And the priest was so angry. He said, get out of here, get out." So with tears in his eyes, the night watchman left the temple. Well, of course, the priest recognized how hasty he'd been, because now there was no one to take care of the temple. So he himself had to remain to be the watchman. until the next day when he could hire someone else. But as the priest was there keeping guard at the door, he heard the sound of footsteps tramping, and he immediately thought, how could anyone get into the temple? The doors are locked and I'm keeping watch here. So using the key, he opened the door, and when he went inside, there was the statue of Krishna that had dismounted from its pedestal and was pacing backwards and forwards. And the priest thought to himself, oh, what blessing! My good works have been recognized, and now Krishna is showing himself to me. But instead of blessing, the priest was given the words of Krishna stating, Where is my night watchman? I cannot rest without hearing his bhajans, his songs of devotion. And the priest said, well, it so happens that I'm an accomplished musician and singer. I will sing the bhajans to you. So he took his tambour and he started to sing, and of course he'd been trained. He was a trained musician and a singer, so he sang in key the devotional songs of the ages. But then Krishna said, stop, cease. I've heard these songs for 1,000,000 years, but I cannot sleep without the singing of my devotee. Bring him here. So the priest had no choice but to go to the house of the night watchman, where he found him still sitting sobbing. Tears were still rolling down his face. And the night watchman said, I cannot rest unless I'm in the presence of my beloved Krishna. And the priest said, well, you're in luck. He wants you to come back and sing for him. So the priest and the night watchman went back to the temple, where the night watchman again began to sing the songs of devotion, off key, no tone in his voice. But a strange thing happened. As the priest listened to this cacophonous sound, off key as it was, he suddenly experienced something beyond the discordant sounds of the night watchman's singing, something that he had never experienced in the songs of the many temples he had visited, the many devotional songs he had heard. In fact, more than any experience he had ever had with music and sound. And suddenly he felt himself transported, transcendent. And as the time went on, Krishna fell into that blissful sleep on his pedestal, the smile on his face. And when the priest came out of his state of transcendence, there was the night watchman, also in a state beyond the mind, beyond the songs, beyond the sound. What is it? That's the deep meaning of these two simple stories. Or more explicitly, what is it that there is behind every thought we have, every word we speak, and every action we do? What is it that we've discovered that is every utterance, every deed, every thought?
It's the love energy that transforms the material into the spiritual and makes it real, whatever it is.
Yes. Can we doubt that? Is there anything that the mind can bring that will take it away? Once we acknowledge, or as has been said so many times, make God real. What is real for you now? What is unchanging? What is behind every utterance, every action? Or are you still second guessing? I shouldn't say that, I shouldn't do that. Maybe this or that. Or are you in that place where you can no longer hinder, sublimate, veil what it is that is there, unchanging, and rises unbidden as our thoughts and our actions?